Dad wants to do a memorial for my sister at my wedding, but I'd rather she wasn't mentioned. I know the title sounds bad. I was hoping people might be able to assess this objectively and give some suggestions, especially if they've been at weddings with memorials before. Unfortunately for me, this is a trickier situation than I'd like because of who my sister was. I'm changing small details to make it harder to identify the situation if anyone I know happens to come across it. My younger sister passed away last year. She was an adult but young, and it was sudden. I don't want to go into too much detail, but she made some bad choices that contributed to her short life. She was also not mentally well. She had an extremely tumultuous relationship with my mom and I. Some ups, but mostly very nasty downs, especially during years when we tried to save her from herself. On the other hand, my dad was often idealized by her, and they had a better relationship. My fiancé did not have a good relationship with her either. Her final years and death were traumatic for our whole family. It's especially impacted my dad. Since she passed, my dad has made a point of eulogizing her at every family event we've had to remember her and make sure she was present. It's always been difficult for both my mom and I because I have a lot of intense, difficult emotions surrounding her and her passing. I always cry for hours, and I ended up feeling downhearted and out of sorts for days after each one of these surprise memorial events. My dad will be the officiant at our wedding. It's very soon. I only recently learned that he plans to memorialize her during the ceremony and in his toast. I really don't want him to do this, but he's extremely resistant because he doesn't want to pretend like she was never here. I will admit that it is childish for me to feel bitter about someone who is no longer here, but growing up, I had a lot of events hijacked by her, causing some incident, and now it feels like it's happening again even when she's passed. If we had a better relationship, I might have been more okay with taking a moment to remember her, but my dad tends to lionize her and has a selective memory where he's forgotten everything bad. He was shocked when I said I wasn't comfortable with her being mentioned in a speech. Outside of my own baggage, my fiancé certainly doesn't want her mentioned. This is not just my side of the family event like the previous memorials. I also fear it will bring down what's supposed to be a happy time and make the guests sad or uncomfortable. I want to try to compromise with him by having my mom, he, and I wear yellow jewelry in discreet places to remember her. Yellow was her favorite color. But I'm not sure if he'd be okay with this because it's too secret. Long story short, how can I let my dad feel like we're honoring my sister's memory without upsetting my mom, my fiancé, and myself too much to enjoy the day? I'm at a loss, and it's hard for me to approach this objectively. Okay, well, it's your decision because it's your wedding, first of all. I have to say that. If it's not something you're comfortable with, like, it's okay. But could you do something like simple maybe? Just like have an open chair for her with like her name on it, like in memory of, but like have your dad be like, please don't say anything, bring it up. Like this needs to be enough because I understand where you're coming from. Also, you're saying that affects you as well. And like, this is your wedding day. You want to have a happy day. You don't want to have a sad day. Edit, I need to go to bed, so I won't be replying further, but I wanted to thank the people who offered condolences and advice, and also those who were rightfully saying, girl, what are you thinking, when I said maybe I should just let him do it. I've gotten a lot of great ideas for other ways of remembering people, not just my sister, and ways to handle it if my dad tries anyway. I'm having a serious discussion with him tomorrow, and if I get any hint that he's going to ignore my fiancé and I's wishes, then we'll find another officiant. Wish I'd been smart enough to fully settle this issue months ago instead of days from the wedding, but lesson learned about clear communication there. Thanks again. Okay, some comments made by OP. She said, my mother and I have both tried to talk about how we process grief differently, especially given how difficult our relationship with my sister was. That's part of why I wasn't expecting him to do this at this event, because he did it for my birthday, and I had to talk about how hard that was. Unfortunately, I guess I didn't make the impression that I thought I did. I didn't want to ask him to step down as the officiant because I think that would really hurt him and cause more problems than just letting this happen. I just hope I could find some compromise that allows him to feel like he's not forgetting about his other daughter without making me too depressed to be a good wife to my fiance or hostess to my guests. It really messes with me when I think about her death too much. That's so valid. I understand. That's so valid. She said the special flower or colors is a nice idea, as well as including things relevant to my fiance, so it's not just for my sister. Again, my fiance did not like her because of being protective of me, so the thought of dedicating the wedding to her is not sitting well. A moment of silence is a good idea, especially if it's about all those who couldn't be here, not just my sister. I know my fiance has relatives who passed a long time ago, but the sadness lingers, and they would have been wanted here. I can ask my man of honor, dude best friend, haha, to step in if things go off the rails. Even if my dad is not an efficient and just doing a toast, he has a good relationship with my dad, so I trust him to do it sensitively. That's a really good idea too. Thanks. Regarding what you said about whether he wants us to be in pain, God, I hope not. I don't think so. I think he's trying everything he can to make this pain stop, but nothing can. He does other rituals that are more personal, which I'm happy he does if it helps him. It's just, this can be really hard on us. The eulogies seem to help him with the guilt he feels about not being able to save her from herself. Something we all deal with in different ways, about moving on, about everything. It's just a really bad situation. For a little bit, but only for a little. I think it's also I would like others to do this for me thing, which I get. Imagining people just celebrating and living life after you pass on, existentially terrifying, but it is something that happens to everyone. It is terrifying to think now, but when I'm dead, I'm probably not going to care unless I'm a ghost stuck on the earth. I don't know what happens after death, so I just imagine that I probably won't care when I'm dead. Like, y'all are going to care more than I do, you know? I feel like I'm going to go, like, somewhere really cool, and I'm going to be, like, chilling and, like, doing some fun stuff, and I'm not going to have to work, and I'm going to have, like, you know, whatever I want, and unlimited money, or money's not going to exist, and you can just get anything you want. I feel like I'm going to make up something in my head, and that's going to be my reality after I die. Genuinely, I feel like that could happen. I get the sentiment, though, of her saying that. Obviously, thinking about that, like, thinking about if I die and then, like, my family I don't even think about that because I know my family would be so sad and they would be missing me every day. Like, I know my family and friends would be, like, so devastated if I died. So I'm not, like, oh my God, they're going to be moving on and just, like, having so much fun. Like, I'm sure at some point they will start to have fun moments and stuff, but I think that forever, for the rest of their lives, they're going to think of me and, like, miss me. Okay, update. I received a number of requests for an update to this, so here we are. It's a good update, thankfully. I spoke with my dad the morning after making the post. I tried to emphasize that mentioning my sister's passing in detail at the wedding would be very difficult emotionally for my mother and I. It would take away from my fiance's, now husband's day, and would probably make the guests uncomfortable or sad. He said he was resistant at first because he's been so afraid of my sister's memory fading away, but that ultimately he understood my concerns. He still wanted her present in some way that wouldn't take away from our day. I offered suggestions that people gave me for ways to have her memory present. We decided to have a seat reserved for past loved ones at the ceremony, and an empty seat with a name tag for her at the wedding party's table during the reception dinner. My dad was the officiant as originally planned, and he gave a beautiful speech at the ceremony and a heartfelt toast that was focused on the joy of the day instead of the sadness of the past. As far as I'm aware, everyone at the wedding had a wonderful time, and the only tears shed were happy ones. I know that there were multiple commenters who said my dad should be replaced as the officiant no matter what, but I'm glad I didn't do that. After the wedding was over, he gave me a big hug, crying because it meant so much to him that we trusted him to do the ceremony and how happy it made him to be such a big part of the wedding. It meant a lot to my husband and I too. Moral of the story, sometimes it takes a few tries to get it right, but honest and heartfelt communication between everyone involved won the day here. Thanks again to everyone who left advice, comfort, well wishes, and grandma hugs. I did not at all anticipate the interest in my post, but I'm grateful for everyone's comments, even if I ran out of time to reply to everyone. In the end, it was a perfect wedding, and I couldn't be happier with how it turned out. I almost cried reading that, honestly, because I love that. I love happy, like, touching moments, and I can just imagine, I'm sure that was such a nice day for you guys, and your dad in a way got what he wanted without having it affect you. And I would just like to say that I suggested that in the beginning to have a seat reserved for her. Clock it. The top comment says, I'm glad they found the right way to frame it without minimizing his grief. Respectfully, the wedding day should not focus on her late sister. We'd love to see a good update. Crazy Cat Lady said, I remember an Am I the Asshole post where a woman wrote about how she wanted her eldest daughter, who had died as a child, to be mentioned at her younger daughter's wedding, and the younger daughter flipped out. She said her entire life had been overshadowed by the death of her sister, and she just wanted one day to be about her. I bet money that mother and daughter are no contact now. See, that's so sad because, like, I understand being sad about that, and I understand being, like, forever sad about that. But you also have a daughter that is here on Earth. So you should probably make her a priority as well and not just like make everything about your daughter that has passed away. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.